Right in the middle of their wedding anniversary celebration, just as the husband raised his glass and spoke about loyalty, the wife quietly pressed play on an audio recording. The entire room fell silent. Because the voice in that recording did not just expose a betrayal. It revealed a secret that had been rotting away inside a family that seemed perfect from the outside. For 30 years, Eleanor Whitmore had always been seen as a fortunate woman. Her husband, Richard, was successful, polished, and always knew exactly what to say to earn people's admiration. To their relatives, they were the model of a lasting marriage. Their children were well provided for, their home was beautiful, and their reputation remained spotless. Every year on their anniversary, Richard hosted a grand celebration, as if he wanted to prove to the world that he was the perfect husband. But Eleanor knew that some cracks do not appear on walls. They appear in late nights, in unfamiliar perfume lingering on a shirt, in phone calls that end abruptly the moment a wife walks into the room. She stayed silent. Not because she was weak, because she wanted to see the truth clearly before she walked away. 3 weeks before the celebration, Eleanor accidentally overheard Richard talking in his office. The door was slightly open. His voice was lowered, but every word was still sharp enough to cut straight through her heart. He said he had never loved her the way she believed he had. He said their marriage was nothing more than a beautiful shell. And even more cruelly, he was discussing with another woman how to transfer assets into separate ownership before filing for divorce. Eleanor stood outside the door, her hands trembling so badly she nearly dropped her phone. But instead of crying, she pressed record. That night, she sat alone in the living room until almost dawn. Old photographs lay before her, their wedding day, the births of their children. Moments when the family smiled together. She looked at each photograph and realized something painful. Sometimes people do not suffer the most because they were betrayed. They suffer the most because they once believed with their whole heart. That evening, the Whitmore mansion glowed with light. Relatives arrived from every direction. Women Eleanor's age complimented her beauty and grace. Men shook Richard's hand and praised him as a husband worthy of admiration. Richard stepped into the center of the room with a wine glass in hand. He smiled at Eleanor as though darkness had never existed between them. He spoke about love. He spoke about sacrifice. He spoke about how Eleanor had stood behind every success he had ever achieved. Everyone applauded. Eleanor applauded too. But there were no tears left in her eyes. Only the calm of someone who had already traveled through the deepest pain. Then came the moment the truth finally spoke. As Richard moved closer to embrace her in front of everyone, Eleanor gently stepped back. She picked up a microphone. Her voice was low, yet unmistakably clear. She said that she also had a gift for her husband that evening. A gift he had created with his own hands. Richard froze. The smile on his face stiffened. Eleanor placed her phone on the table and connected it to the room's sound system. Then the recording began to play. Richard's voice filled every corner of the room. Every word of betrayal echoed before his children, his siblings, his relatives, and his friends. No one was smiling anymore. The woman sitting beside Richard's mother covered her mouth in shock. His daughter lowered her head, her eyes filled with tears. His son looked at his father as though he were staring at a complete stranger. Richard rushed forward to stop the recording, but Eleanor never let go of the phone. She looked at him and said, "There's no need, Richard. For the first time in 30 years, let everyone hear the truth directly from you." Richard desperately tried to explain. He claimed it was all a misunderstanding. He said Eleanor had heard things incorrectly. He said the recording had been edited. He said she was exaggerating everything. But Eleanor did not argue. Instead, she placed another folder on the table. Inside were bank transfer documents, messages, copies of property records, and divorce papers already prepared by an attorney. The room became so quiet that even breathing felt heavy. Richard's mother began to cry. Not because she was embarrassed in front of the guests. She cried because she finally understood how deeply the son she had always defended had hurt the kindest woman in their family. Eleanor turned toward her children. She told them she was sorry for allowing them to grow up in a home that appeared peaceful while being filled with deception. She apologized for staying silent for far too long. But from that day forward, she would never teach them that suffering in silence was the same thing as love. Her words brought tears to the eyes of many women in the room. Because deep down, they understood. Some marriages do not collapse in a single day. They break apart little by little, each time someone is ignored, deceived, or forced into silence to protect the family's image. Then came the moment the wife stepped out of the shadows. Eleanor removed her wedding ring and placed it beside Richard's wine glass. No anger, no screaming, no revenge driven by cruelty. She simply reclaimed her voice. She said she never wanted to destroy her family. The lies had already done that. All she had done was open the door and let the light in. Richard stood there looking smaller than ever before. The man who had hidden behind his reputation for years suddenly had nowhere left to hide. And Eleanor, the woman people had once considered too gentle and too patient, became the only person brave enough to speak the truth. That night, the anniversary celebration ended not with music, but with silence. For Eleanor, however, it was not an ending. It was the day she finally began living honestly after spending years burying herself inside a marriage that only pretended to be happy. This story is not just another family drama Reddit stories filled with tension and heartbreak. It is a dramatic storytelling journey about self-respect, awakening, and the strength of a woman who refuses to accept betrayal in silence any longer. If you have ever witnessed a real-life Reddit family drama story where the truth remained hidden inside a family for far too long, leave a comment below. Do you think Eleanor was too cruel, or was this the only way to reclaim justice? And do not forget to subscribe to the channel for more emotional, dramatic, and unforgettable family stories filled with powerful life lessons.